There are people in your life who can still get to you, not in obvious ways, through specific words, specific tones, specific silences that land with a precision that surprises you every time. You have practiced detachment, worked on your reactions, told yourself their opinion doesn't matter, and then something lands anyway. And you are back in the same place. This video is about why and how that ends. If you know exactly who or what just came to mind, hit like. This video found the right person. Here is the thing that nobody explains about being reached, about the specific experience of someone's words or silence or disapproval landing in you in a way that you cannot seem to prevent. It does not happen because you are weak. It does not happen because your defenses are insufficient or your self-esteem is too fragile or your emotional regulation needs improvement. It happens because you are still invested. The reach is proportional to the investment. Not investment in the person necessarily, investment in the outcome they represent. Their approval means something is confirmed. Their disapproval means something is threatened. Their silence means something is uncertain. And as long as you are invested in what their response confirms or threatens, they have reach. The reach is not something they do to you. It is something you have given them access to through the investment, often without knowing you made the choice. Think of a tree in a storm, a young tree recently planted, whose root system has not yet had time to extend deep into the ground. It bends dramatically in the wind, sometimes all the way over, sometimes pulled from the soil entirely. Not because the storm is extraordinarily powerful, because the roots have not yet gone deeper than the storm's reach. The solution is not to build a wall around the tree. It is not to ask the storm to be gentler. It is to grow roots that descend below the level where the storm operates, deep enough that when the wind comes, and it will always come, there is nothing above ground that the root system cannot hold. The storms in your life are not the problem. The people who reach you are not the problem. The problem is that your roots have not yet gone deeper than their reach. And the reason your roots have not gone deeper is that you have been spending the energy that root growing requires on something else, on managing the outcomes of what others think, on monitoring the reach, on trying to make yourself less reachable by building better defenses rather than deeper roots. Nietzsche called it amor fati, love of fate. Not the performance of not being affected, not detachment as indifference, the actual interior acceptance of everything that arrives, the disapproval, the silence, the criticism, the loss, as part of the same reality that contains everything you love about your life. Nothing needs to be different for you to be okay. Not their opinion, not their response, not the outcome of the thing you are afraid about. The acceptance is not resignation. It is the deepest form of rootedness. The condition in which nothing the storm brings is a genuine threat to what is most fundamentally yours. You are not trying to stop the storm. You are growing roots beneath it, and that is the root no storm has ever reached. There are specific ways the investment shows up, the precise daily moments that reveal exactly where your stakes are placed and where the reach is coming from. Each of them is a map to the root work that still needs to happen. The first is replaying what someone said and finding your self-assessment has shifted in the replay. It happened hours ago, sometimes days ago. The interaction is long finished, but in the replay, the version of the exchange that your mind keeps returning to and rerunning, the words land slightly differently each time. And each time they land, something in your evaluation of yourself adjusts, not dramatically, a subtle recalibration. Perhaps they were right. Perhaps there is something in what they said. Perhaps the version of yourself you had was slightly more inflated than what their response suggested. This is the investment revealing itself. You are using their words as evidence. You are treating their assessment as data about your actual worth. And the replay is the investment trying to extract maximum information from the interaction before finally releasing it. The release will not come until the investment is withdrawn. The second is having a specific access point, the precise type of criticism or dismissal that bypasses every other defense and lands clean. You can receive most feedback without significant disturbance, but there is one category, one specific form of not being seen or being dismissed in a particular way or being judged for a particular quality that gets through every time with a reliability that you have noticed and cannot seem to change. This is the location of the deepest investment. The access point is always the place where you still most need to be confirmed, where you are still at some level. asking the outside world to ratify something about yourself that has not yet been ratified from the inside. The third is feeling genuinely destabilized by disapproval from people whose opinion you intellectually know should not matter. You understand, rationally, that this person's view of you has no authority over your actual worth. And then their disapproval arrives, and the knowing does nothing. The feeling comes anyway, because the investment operates below the level of intellectual knowledge. You can know something doesn't matter and still have your stakes placed there. The gap between what you know and what you feel is the size of the investment, and knowing you shouldn't care by itself does not withdraw the stakes. Only the deliberate, repeated, interior work of disinvestment does that. The fourth is your mood being measurably affected by whether a specific person responded to your message, and being fully aware of this and unable to stop it. You sent the message, explicitly, that you are monitoring for a response, explicitly that the response or its absence will affect your internal state. And you watch yourself being affected anyway, with a quality of helpless observership that is both familiar and exhausting. The investment is fully visible, and visibility without the disinvestment work changes nothing. This is the most honest moment in the pattern, the one where you can see the stake clearly enough to finally begin to pull it. But here is what no one tells you about what comes next. Here is the work that actually makes you unreachable. Not the performance of not caring, the actual interior withdrawal of the stakes that you have placed in outcomes you cannot control. Not done loudly, not done dramatically, not announced to anyone, quietly, in the specific moments when the investment becomes visible. When you catch yourself in the replay, or feel the access point activate, or notice the mood shifting in response to the message, you do one thing. You name the stake, not to the other person, to yourself. This is where I have placed the question of my worth. This is the thing I am still asking the outside world to confirm. This is the investment that gives this reach its power. Naming it does not immediately withdraw it, but it begins the process. Because the investment only has full power when it is below the level of conscious awareness. When you bring it into visibility, when you can say specifically, I am invested in whether this person thinks well of me because at some level I am still using their opinion as evidence about my actual value, the investment begins to lose its automatic authority. It becomes a choice rather than a compulsion, and choices can be changed. Nietzsche wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati." That one wants nothing to be different. Not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. Not merely bear what is necessary, still less conceal it. All idealism is mendacity in the face of what is necessary, but love it. Not endure the disapproval, not manage the reach. Love the entirety of what arrives, including the parts that used to destabilize, as necessary components of a life that is genuinely yours. The amor fati is the root system at full depth, the level below which no storm reaches. The place where the disapproval and the approval are both received and released without adjusting the fundamental ground of who you are. Here is something to do right now. Think of this specific person or category whose reach you feel most consistently. Name the stake, not what they do, what you are still asking them to confirm. Just name it. Don't resolve it immediately. Simply let it be visible. That visibility is the beginning of the disinvestment, and the disinvestment accumulated over time is the root system going deeper. This is when everything begins to shift. You came into this video because something keeps landing. Someone keeps getting through a specific person, a specific type of interaction, a specific form of not being seen or approved of or included with a reliability that your intellectual understanding cannot prevent. You have tried to care less. You have tried to reason yourself out of the investment. You have told yourself their opinion doesn't matter, and watched yourself be affected by it anyway. And the gap between knowing and feeling has felt like a permanent feature of who you are. It is not permanent. It is a root depth problem. And root depth problems are solved by the same mechanism that solves every other growing thing: time, attention, and the consistent direction of energy toward what needs to grow rather than toward the management of what is already trying to reach you. The unreachable person is not the person who feels nothing. They are not cold, sealed off, indifferent to the human world. They are a person whose root system has extended below the level where the storm's reach ends, not through force, but through growth, through the accumulation of interior work, the naming of investments, the withdrawal of misplaced stakes, the repeated practice of returning the question of their worth to the interior rather than the exterior. The storm still comes, the winds still register, but there is nothing above ground for the storm to use as leverage. The ground holds because the roots have gone deep enough. Becoming unreachable is not a destination you arrive at. It is a direction you move in consistently, quietly, through the small interior choices that accumulate into a root system nobody can see from the surface. Every time you catch yourself in the replay and name the investment, every time you feel the access point activate and return the question of your worth to yourself before the other person's response can answer it, every time you receive a disapproval and release it without allowing it to recalibrate your fundamental sense of who you are, these are the moments the roots extend. These are the choices that make you, over time, genuinely unreachable. The storm is not the enemy. It is a test that tells you where the roots still need to go. Let it test, let it find what it finds, and keep growing deeper. If this video found you at the exact moment you are ready to begin the root work, write in the comments, growing roots. Let's see how many of us are going deeper right now. If Notivus is new to you, subscribe. Every video here is another layer of the root work. The next one goes deeper than this one did. The storm will come again before then. Let it show you where to dig next.